Hi, gang, it's Adam.
And Patrick.
Coming up on today's episode, we welcome our friend Chris from Wishful Thinking back to the podcast to talk about tackling Disney World on a budget. As always, we cover the latest Disney news and close out the show with some quick D. All that and more on today's episode of Gays Do the D.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Patrick, honey, Kazuki.
So sweet and delicious. Adam, backbone, Hummel.
Come on. Are you spilling the tea?
I'm spilling the tea. Tweedledee's out there. Adam is such a trooper. He is on his deathbed right now because he pulled a muscle in his back, which if you've ever done that, it is literally the worst pain that's ever happened in your life. And he is plowing through the trenches to bring you GDTD content.
I'm so brave.
You're so brave. You're the brave little toaster.
Don't call me a hero, everyone.
Don't treat him any differently. He's just like us.
But you can call me a fat ass and old.
No. Old, yes. We all agree on that one.
Fortunately, it's not the kind of pulled muscle that hurts when you laugh. So there's still joy.
That's good. You have one thing in your life, and it's joy.
I'm just holding on to it.
Grasping at straws, but not too quickly because that'll agitate things again.
No jarring grasps. That would hurt, yes.
Well, other than your back, Adam, episode 101, how are you? How was your week?
I'm fantastic. My week was great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm feeling motivated. You know, I've been volunteering lately to get out the word about voting and voter education. And boy, it's inspiring work, but you also run into a lot of jerks who have some mean things to say to you.
I've been doing exactly the same thing. I've been texting people to vote or reminding them about the upcoming Minnesota primary. And it is a mixed bag of thank you so much for reminding me. And also, who the hell are you?
I get much worse. I get, please go ahead and consider dying, or you are a Satan spawn, or, you know, things like that. It's been a real mixed bag.
Well, first of all, I would just like to apologize for sending you those texts.
Yeah, I was going to say that had nothing to do with voting. It just was me texting you this morning.
But it felt so good to get that off my chest.
Whatever alleviates some pain from your back, I'm here for you.
Thank you so much.
Listen, I'm a giver.
But we should use this opportunity, since we're talking about it, Patrick, to remind everyone, please check to make sure that you're registered to vote. And if you do have the option of absentee voting in your state, please consider that and requesting that absentee ballot as soon as you possibly can.
Absolutely. Even if you don't use it, it's a good insurance policy just in case things turn into a mess. You don't have to vote by mail just because you have an absentee ballot. You can still go and vote in person. So just get that little insurance policy and make sure that your vote counts this election season.
And if you do happen to know who you want to vote for, and how could you not, I encourage you to vote as quickly as you can once you receive that absentee ballot, if that's your voting preference, because the mail system's a little wonky these days.
It's a little on thin ice, and just consider it to be like Christmas season all the time, where it's just, they're overloaded right now. So get those ballots in early, or if your state has early voting, use that as your option to vote.
Please do that. Well, Patrick, we have a brand new Tweedle we need to welcome to the podcast. We need to welcome Jeff to GDTD. You can find Jeff on Instagram at JustJeffRiffle.
It sounds so sensual.
Very sensual riffle.
I'm riffling right now. Can you tell?
I can tell. The camera is shaking violently.
Yeah, I haven't worn pants in months, Adam. In months.
It shows your confidence level has really dropped.
which is a feat because it was real low to begin with.
Well, welcome to Gays Do the Deed, Jeff. Jeff actually reached out to say that he purchased a couple of our t-shirts, Patrick, and we'll have a very fun announcement about our merch store going forward later on in the episode.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jeff, and thank you for your purchase. Next up, Adam, we have a new Patreon member to thank and celebrate. Allison just became the newest member of our Patreon family.
Allison Janney, welcome to the Patreon family.
Oh, if it were her, she's my hero. She is literally my hero.
Do you know for a fact it's not her, Patrick?
I can't confirm or deny that it is not or is Allison Janney.
Then I reiterate, Allison Janney, we are happy to have you aboard.
Just a fun side story about Allison Janney. You know that my favorite show is The West Wing, and she and Kristen Chenoweth were on that for a while together. And there's one of my very favorite scenes is when they're walking down the hallway together. And Kristen Chenoweth is maybe my height, and Allison Janney is your height, Adam, or taller. And Allison looks at Kristen and goes, "It's hard to believe that we're the same species."
I love a tall and a small pairing like that.
It's the best. It's absolutely the best. So welcome to the Patreon family, possibly Allison Janney. You are beloved.
And if you're not Allison Janney, first of all, we forgive you, but also still welcome to the Patreon family. We are still delighted to have you.
Yes, you are also beloved. And for those who don't know, of course, we do have a Patreon page, which goes to support all efforts here at Gays Do the D. You can find that page by going to gaysdothed.com and clicking on that donate button, where for as little as $1 reoccurring a month, you can be part of our Patreon family, which gives you extra bonuses like special giveaways that is only for our Patreon members, and bonus episodes called Gays Do the D, Raw and Uncut.
Raw and uncut.
Ooh, so sharp and quick. I like that.
Staccato, yes.
It's like a back spasm.
It is like a back spasm.
And of course, those bonus episodes are exclusively for our Patreon members. So thank you to all of our Patreon members, and thank you to you, Allison, for becoming a brand new Patreon family member.
Oh, wait, but there's more, Patrick.
There is more, so bear with me. We do have an exciting announcement about how you can pay to be part of our Patreon family. How exciting, Adam. So Patreon has expanded the currency levels in which you can pledge your donation to a Patreon page. So you can now pledge to GDTD's Patreon in your local currency of euros, British pounds, or US dollars as was before, but they've added euros and British pounds. So this will help prevent you paying any extra conversion fees from your bank or card when pledging in a currency that's not your own. So any new visitors to GDTD's page will see our tiers priced in your local currency if it happens to be euros or British pounds or US American dollars. And for those of you who would like to switch your preferred currency, you can follow these very easy to follow steps. Number 1, on patreon.com, hover over your avatar in the top right of your screen, then click Manage Memberships. Then find our page and click Edit. Under Currency, choose your preferred currency, and then click Update to save your settings. And for those of you outside of those countries where euros or British pounds or US dollars are used, you'll continue to see your pledge priced in US dollars. That was the most boring and exciting update I've ever given, Adam, when it comes to currency.
It's important information, Patrick. And you know what?
What's up?
This pandemic has me paying in pounds. You know what I'm saying?
Zing! Hello!
How many pizzas can I order?
Well done. Well done there. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Turning back in time to last week's episode, Patrick, we received some Tweedle feedback on our feature segment, Tops and Bottoms, Gay Disney World.
Ooh, I love feedback. I love tops and bottoms. Let's get into it.
First up, we received an email from our distant relative, Auntie Myrna. Auntie Myrna says, kisses, cuddles, and a reach around.
Oh, dear.
For such an epic 100th episode, my cheeks on my face, Adam, are still hurting from the nonstop smiles and laughing. I was surprised that for the gayest character meet and greet, Gaston didn't make the cut. Also, for the gayest shop, immediately the Christmas store at Magic Kingdom came to mind. I mean, the gays live for Christmas. Lads, how did this not get mentioned? I also have a big request to my fellow Tweedledees. Can we please make it a must to have a GDTD t-shirt with Gary the ostrich on it? This needs to be the mascot of the podcast, no? And Gary needs to be saying, hey, make it happen. Take all of my monies. Love, Auntie XOXO.
That is some fantastic feedback.
Gary the ostrich, does he need to be a merch item?
I think so. You know, Disney has a surprising amount of ostriches in its history. Fantasia, for instance.
Fantasia, yes, absolutely.
I guess that's it.
Nature specials.
Of course, the gay ostrich that is in Animal Kingdom.
Gary
the ostrich. So just the two.
Well, we'll take your suggestions under advisement. We will prepare a presentation for the board and see what they have to say, Auntie Myrna.
And you're absolutely right. The Christmas store is so gay. The Christmas store is so gay, it runs a youth outreach center.
Are we really doing this? The Christmas store is so gay that it opened on Tony's night.
Oh dear. The Christmas store is so gay, it was first in line to get a marriage license when marriage equality was legalized.
Oh, that's kind of sweet. What other store is the Christmas store marrying?
An art store, obviously.
Those two, they're not going to have much in the bank account, but they're going to live on love.
They're making it work.
Well, thanks again, Auntie Myrna. We appreciate your feedback.
Thanks, Auntie Myrna. Next up, we have Derek reaching out to us on Instagram at Boy Who Has Everything. And Derek says, first of all, can we all agree on not making bottom snack a thing?
We cannot agree on that. We cannot.
It's so upsetting to me. Secondly, can verify Peter Pan's flight is the gayest hookup spot after being pretty aggressively cruised by an older daddy while waiting in line.
That's kind of hot.
Yeah, good for you. I think you're just bragging now, Derek.
And if I didn't clarify it before, bottom snack is GDTD canon. That will never be going away. We will be saying it, if anything, more now because of your comment, Derek.
And by we, you mean just yourself, Adam.
Bottom snack, bottom snack, bottom snack. Yes.
I was going to say put that on a t-shirt, but I'm not on board. I'm not on board with that.
Next up, we have a DM from Justin. You can find Justin on Instagram at jmcarth1. Justin says, how is all-star music the least gay? One wing is literally Broadway with musicals. Literal jazz hands at All-Star Music, giant jazz hands. Also, my gayest character meet and greet are the stepsisters. Gays love a villain, and they have so many fun punchlines.
Justin, you have truly outgayed us here on this episode. You are absolutely correct. I totally forgot about the Broadway wing in All-Star Music. Yeah, that's pretty gay.
And as for the stepsisters, great point, Justin. You know, the stepsisters, they could be part of the fam, Patrick. And I don't just mean the Tremaines, you know?
That's fair. I do love meeting them. They are so funny, and they are highlighted right now in the parks because I think they greet you and they exit you from the park as well, from afar.
It must be a blast to play the stepsisters because they're given kind of this extra clearance to be a little bit more nasty and kind of quick and funny and clever and biting just because of their characters, right?
Yeah, they're both Karens, basically.
Karen and Karen Tremaine. Love those ladies.
Last but not least, we have Daniel writing to us from Instagram at DancoDirect. Daniel says, if you happen to get an opportunity to visit the Rose and Crown during gay days, I highly recommend it, for it is very gay. The last time I was there, the lovely British boys obligingly bent over to wipe things up whenever beer fell on the ground, and the gays were so vocally appreciative that eventually the female bartenders started spilling beer on the ground on purpose. This is my dream come true. Plus, between the Alice and Mary Poppins meet and greets, what could be gayer than the England Pavilion? Such a great point.
There were so many magical moments in this DM from Daniel. First of all, for someone to say, "For it is very gay," is so formal in an email about gay things at Epcot.
It's the England Pavilion way of saying it.
I love that moment. And I got a little concerned when Patrick read, "British boys obligingly bent over to wipe." But fortunately, things turned out for the best.
And let's not move past that the bar is called Rose and Crown. I mean, that's pretty gay.
All of those pubs in the UK are like the Lamb and the Sword, or like the Thistle and the Mullet.
Mutton and Mayhem.
Mutton and Mayhem is my favorite. You know, it turns into a discotheque after 10 p.m. each night.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. They just call it the meat shop after that.
It's much easier to advertise the meat shop rather than Mutton and Mayhem as a gay bar.
But Mutton and Mayhem do perform as drag superstars in the meat shop.
They also do the Renaissance Fair circuit.
Oh, I can't. I can go on for days about the Renaissance Fair. We have to move on immediately.
That's another podcast, Patrick.
That is a full other podcast.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your feedback from last week's episode. We had a blast doing last week's episode, and we're so delighted that so many of you reached out to congratulate us. It just really warmed our cold black hearts.
Absolutely. They're almost lukewarm and pink now.
Almost.
Not quite, but almost. So next up, Adam, we're introducing sort of a new segment here in our intro banter for Gays Do the D, right?
Yes, a zhuzhed up segment.
That's right. We're zhuzhing up what usually is our anniversaries corner, and instead we're doing a This Week in Disney History corner. So I've got 4 items to talk about, Adam. We'll quickly get through them, but they're really interesting, and they sparked my attention when I was doing some research. So 4 years ago, this week in Disney history, on August 11th, 2016, Disney's first and currently only Latina princess made her debut in Walt Disney World. I'm talking about Elena of Avalor.
Love Elena.
So beautiful. Her dress is real gay, I would say. It's very authentic, but it's real gay.
You don't see a lot of that kind of primary red in the parks, and so she pops.
She does pop. She's beautiful and well done for being the first and only Latina princess. Let's get some more in there. What do you say?
Absolutely.
Bumping up in years, so 51 years ago this week in Disney history, on August 9th, 1969, the Haunted Mansion opened in Disneyland for the very first time, but the official grand opening ceremony was then held on August 12th.
They call that a soft opening. Patrick, have you ever experienced a soft opening?
I prefer a medium well opening, but I do appreciate a soft opening.
Okay.
I like my openings grand. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yes.
We should move on. 79 years ago, Adam, this week in Disney history, on August 11th, 1941, Walt Disney began his Goodwill Tour of South America, which was later nicknamed El Grupo. So this trip inspired many future Disney projects, including, in my opinion, the best project, The Three Caballeros.
The Three Caballeros, yes.
And I hear that Jose is finally back in the Three Caballeros ride in Disney World.
What a journey he must have experienced. I mean, he needed some help. There was an issue. He was whisked away to who knows where and returned bright and sparkling and shiny new.
We welcome you back, Jose. We're glad you're on the mend.
Yes, Jose.
Yes, Jose. And last but not least, Adam, 91 years ago this week in Disney history, on August 12th, 1929, Walt Disney was officially granted a trademark for his use of the image for Mickey Mouse.
I really wish that had paid off for him.
What a gamble.
That trademark that launched $1,000 million billion.
Roughly. You're just rounding down there, too.
I mean, that's complicated math. I don't know. But hooray for that moment in history. Without it, we'd have no Maine Mouse.
We wouldn't have a podcast, Adam, more importantly.
Or maybe, Patrick, just maybe, we'd be celebrating Gary the Ostrich every time we walk into the parks.
You know what? When you're right, you're right. And if I had a time machine, I would go back and make that change.
LGBTQ rights would have been thrust into the spotlight. Walt Disney would have become a true LGBTQ icon.
This feels like an episode of Hollywood. Have you seen that show?
I haven't, but Patti LuPone's in that, right?
She is indeed.
I was also thinking maybe a little Quantum Leap.
Oh, yeah. I like it. Quantum Hollywood Leap.
And that's why we have Mickey. Wait, no?
And that's the history of Mickey Mouse.
I got turned around somewhere in there.
I lost the thread somewhere after Patti LuPone.
Whenever Ms. LuPone enters the situation, I get distracted, Patrick.
Distraction aplenty. So there you have it for this week in Disney history.
Thank you so much. I love This Week in Disney History. It's just great to get these little glimpses of very important moments within Disney's timeline.
Agreed.
Moving on, Patrick. So as I mentioned at the top of the episode, we have a very special announcement regarding our merch store. Going forward, we are going to be using our merch store funds, the proceeds that we receive from the sales of our merch items, and donating those funds to various causes. Right, Patrick?
That's absolutely right. We were so inspired by our Pride Month donations to the Trans Justice Funding Project that we decided, why don't we just do this all the time? We are able to celebrate so many of our Tweedledees joining our Patreon family that we are able to give all of our merch earnings toward a cause instead.
And this is a great opportunity for us too, all of us, Patrick and I and our listeners, to learn about some very worthy organizations who can truly benefit from these financial contributions.
Absolutely. So going forward, quarterly, all of the proceeds that we get from our merch store are going to go to a different cause. And this quarter, we are starting out with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation's mission is to cure cystic fibrosis and to provide all people with CF the opportunity to lead long, fulfilling lives by funding research and drug development, partnering with the CF community, and advancing high-quality specialized care. This year, I actually am involved directly with the foundation through my involvement with the Twin Cities Finest campaign to raise awareness and funds for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. With donations to the CF Foundation in our lifetime, we can ensure that CF stands for Cure Found. So from now through the end of October, all of the proceeds from our GDTD merch shop will be donated directly to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. To make your purchase, head on over to gazedothed.com and click that merch tab at the top of the page. There, you'll find some more info around this cause and a link to the foundation's website and, of course, our GDTD online store where you can shop till you drop for a great cause.
I love this. And Patrick, as you mentioned, this foundation has a very special place in your heart, right?
That's absolutely right. My niece, Bailey, who just turned 4 years old recently, happy birthday, Bailey, she was born with cystic fibrosis. It is a genetic disease. And as we said, there's no known cure right now. But advancements are being made every single day, and doctors and scientists who are working on cystic fibrosis are very confident that we are very close to finding a cure.
So just know that through October, whenever you make a purchase in our store, our proceeds that we receive will be going directly to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation.
Get to shopping, everybody.
Shop till you drop.
But don't drop. Keep your head up.
I wish I could. My back. I just can't.
That's literally the least I ask of you, Adam, is to just try to keep your head up.
Why start now? Why? So just a quick announcement about next week's episode. We are going to be talking about the Disney Plus documentary, Howard. A lot of you have already reached out to us, and some of you have even said, hey, you guys should review Howard. Well, just know that it's coming up in next week's episode, and we're very excited to share our thoughts about that documentary with you.
Absolutely. We just needed a little bit more time to collect our thoughts and to build a fantastic episode around Howard because it deserves a lot of thought and energy because it's such an amazing documentary and his life gifted the Disney community so greatly that we wanted to make sure we get that episode correct.
That's right. So you have homework going forward. If you have not watched Howard, please watch Howard. Also, we've talked about it before on the podcast. If you have not watched Waking Sleeping Beauty, also available on Disney Plus, please watch that as well.
And if you have seen it, watch it again because it's so good.
Do it.
So, Adam, before we jump into the news, we have not one, but two giveaways to announce.
That's right. So exciting. We are announcing the winners of our $100 Disney gift card giveaway.
Our biggest giveaway yet.
And Patrick, the entries on Instagram, hundreds of people entered this giveaway.
I had to turn my phone off a couple of times because we were getting so many mentions, which is fantastic. But I was like, okay, I have to focus on work right now. I have to turn my phone off.
It was just a taste of what it's like to actually have friends and or be popular.
It was almost as though we had a billion friends, but we only have each other, Adam. We only have each other.
All right, well, let's get right to it, Patrick. Can I announce the Instagram winner?
I wish you would.
Well, I'm going to. The Instagram winner of the $100 Disney gift card is Philippe, who you can find on Instagram at Philtostes. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Philippe. Philtostes on Instagram. Congratulations, Philippe.
Congratulations, Philippe. Philippe, are you in any relation to Philippe the horse from Beauty and the Beast? I'm not calling you a horse, Philippe. I'm not calling you a horse, though, either. So if you are one, what a magical treat we have on our hands.
And how are you Instagramming with those hooves?
Magic, Adam. Disney magic.
So dexterous. Is that the word? Dexterous?
Dexterous, I think, is the word.
Dexterous.
All right. Moving on. We, of course, also have a Patreon winner. All of our Patreon family members were instantly added to their very own giveaway. And back by popular demand, Adam, we have a drum roll to announce our Patreon winner. Don't give me that face, Adam. I see it on Zoom.
Back by popular demand, really?
At least 2 to 3 people love the drum roll.
Okay, go for it.
And that is 50% of our viewership.
Stop talking. I said go for it. This is your window.
All right, drum roll, please.
Okay. Who won?
I think everyone won after that drum roll.
If anything, that made my back hurt worse.
Oh, I do what I do. And the winner is Brandon. Brandon, congratulations.
Congratulations, Brandon. Wow. These two guys and their $100 Disney gift cards. I wonder what they're going to spend it on.
Well, together, they can probably buy one Spirit jersey.
Very true. Or they could put a nice down payment on a Disney vacation.
They could buy 38 seconds at All-Star Music. They rent by the hour now. I don't know if you knew that.
Wow, that is a bold new policy by Disney.
It's the future. It's 2020, Adam.
Okay, you know what? As we're going to learn in the news, Disney might need that financial help. So go for it, Disney. You get yours.
What a great segue. What a great segue into the news.
On Tuesday, August 4th, the Walt Disney Company held its third quarter earnings call for 2020. And as you might expect, there are some fiscal issues. Patrick, is that a nice way to say it?
I think we're all having some fiscal issues right now, but yeah.
Disney's theme parks and movie studios revenues declined 85% and 55% year over year, respectively. The company lost $2 billion in revenue from its parks, experiences, and products division alone. As a result of the pandemic, Disney took in just $11.8 billion in revenue and $1 billion in operating income in the 3-month period that ended in June, the height of the lockdowns in the country. As a comparison, during the same period last year, Disney made $20.25 billion in revenue and $4 billion in operating income. Patrick, you made $4 billion last year, didn't you?
Just slightly under.
That was a rough year for you.
Yeah, things are tough right now.
Disney Plus, however, Patrick, continues to grow. Subscribers increased to 60.5 million globally, up from 33.5 million in the second quarter of fiscal year 2020. Disney also announced it now surpasses 100 million paid subscribers for its full direct-to-consumer portfolio, which includes Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu. But the call couldn't be all about math, Patrick. Ever the surprise queen, the company announced that its live-action remake of Mulan, originally scheduled to premiere in theaters last March, would now be premiering on Disney Plus in the U.S. on September 4th at a cost of $29.99. The same pattern will follow in Canada, Australia, and some of Western Europe. Customers will be given indefinite access to the film in exchange for the fee, but as long as they subscribe to Disney Plus. Mulan will still premiere theatrically in some countries, likely China, where it will undoubtedly score at the box office. So, Patrick, $30 for Mulan at home. How are you feeling about that?
It's a high price to pay, I feel like, but I understand it. I mean, they have to consider that most households probably don't have just one person watching it. They have at least two, if not an entire family, and that would cost $60 to go see a movie for a whole family, right?
Yeah, when I did the math for just me and Matthew and snacks, I was like, what a deal. The only thing I'm going to miss out on is seeing this kind of very epic, grand movie on the big screen.
Yes, a movie like this definitely deserves a big screen reveal, but I'm not saying we're witches, Adam, but we did talk about this months ago that we hope that Disney is going to go in this direction if the pandemic continues, because we need to see these movies, we need to be entertained, and we did speculate that we hope that they start doing rentals of these movies, or at least an extra fee to add it onto your Disney Plus experience.
You're not saying we're witches?
Yeah, we're not witches, is all I'm saying.
I just like to take this opportunity to warn all you gays out there. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mulan watch party, but don't you do it. Don't you dare do it.
Oh, such a good point. You guys stay home, do a Zoom watch party, maybe, and watch it together, but do not get together and watch this movie unless you are all absolutely quarantined and are wearing masks and are sitting 6 feet apart. But even then, just don't do it, maybe.
You're bringing chips, right, Patrick?
I'm bringing chips and champagne.
The Patrick special.
Yeah, and that's just for me. What are you going to have? As we reported previously, the in-person 2020 Disney Dreamers Academy program has been canceled. However, the program will resume this fall virtually. Disney Dreamers Academy is a 4-day mentoring program that usually brings teens from across the United States to Walt Disney World for an immersive education experience. Each class has 100 teens selected from thousands of applications. It's a free program encouraging participants to be positive and to pursue their dreams. This year, the participants will be delivered life lessons and tools such as effective communication techniques, leadership skills, and networking strategies virtually. Disney will use self-paced workshops, interactive video conferencing sessions, and networking opportunities to accomplish all of this. Following the experience, for the first time ever, all 100 students will experience career shadowing externships based on their dream professions. Disney Signature Experiences Vice President and Disney Dreamers Academy Executive Champion Tracy D. Powell said of the pivot in the program, "We were disappointed to have to cut this year's event short due to the pandemic, and we knew we had to create something extra special for this outstanding group of high school students. We expect this experience will deliver an impactful and inspirational experience, just as the traditional program has done for more than a decade." To learn more about the Disney Dreamers Academy, you can follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Disney Dreamers Academy.
There's been so many cancellations or reconfiguring of programs, but this one really hurts because it's kids, it's high school kids who were going to have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and now they have to experience it over Zoom.
Yeah, for sure. But the bright side is Disney pivots very well and quickly. So I'm glad that they didn't just go, we're done with it. They saw an opportunity to still give these deserving kids a chance at this mentorship program. So well done, Disney. Do you think anybody will be reaching out to us to be mentors, Adam?
No.
Okay, great.
According to an August 5th Deadline exclusive, Captain Marvel 2 may have found its director. Nia DaCosta, who directed and, along with Jordan Peele and Wynn Rosenfeld, co-wrote the anticipated reboot of Candyman, has been tapped to direct the Marvel superhero follow-up. DaCosta takes over for Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, who directed the first pick to massive box office success. Marvel is known for switching up its directors on its popular franchises like Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America to give the next installment a fresh voice, and had been meeting with candidates for the past couple of months. Megan McDonnell, a story editor on the Marvel-based series WandaVision, penned the script for the Captain Marvel sequel, with Brie Larson returning to star. As Deadline stated, quote, DaCosta's attachment is yet another sign of Marvel continuing to add diversity to its films, especially when it comes to the individuals behind the camera. Even though a budget is unknown, it is sure to be the biggest budgeted tentpole to be helmed by a Black female director, following in the footsteps of Ava DuVernay, who directed A Wrinkle in Time, which came in at $115 million for its budget. Well, this is fantastic news, Patrick. More representation behind the camera, helping to tell those stories that we're seeing when we watch a movie.
Representation matters, y'all.
It really does. And Nia DaCosta directed a reboot of Candyman. Did you ever see Candyman?
That is a terrifying movie.
It sounds like it would be delicious, but it's probably not.
Yes, it is not Christina Aguilera's Candyman. It's very, very different than that.
Do you think this Candyman will also make all the panties drop?
Out of fear because you've wet yourself.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
D23 has just announced an exciting celebration for Disneyland's 65th anniversary that may sway some of our Tweedledees to finally make the decision to get a gold membership. To start with, gold members will be receiving a one-of-a-kind standalone issue of the D23 magazine. The special issue will include unique stories and pictures that will focus on the development and evolution of the theme park. Disney Parks Experiences and Products Chairman Josh D'Amaro will provide a special editor's letter, and you'll get exclusive interviews with Disney legends Tony Baxter and Wing T. Chow, Imagineers Tom Fitzgerald and Bhavana Mistry, original Musketeer Bobby Burgess, and Walt Disney Imagineering President Bob Weiss. Just some of the special articles for this issue will include Walt's Map to the Magic, a deep dive into the inspiration, planning, and creation of Disneyland, Dateline Disneyland, a guided tour of Disneyland on opening day, and Character Analysis Park Stars, featuring beloved characters created just for Disney parks, like Orange Bird, Figment, and the Country Bears. You'll also get a sneak peek at the soon-to-be-released book, Holiday Magic in the Disney Parks. And this issue will include a set of 6 postcards exclusive to D23 Gold members. Each card will represent a different Disney destination around the world. Beyond the exclusive magazine, D23.com will produce more than a dozen original features on their site, from a look at movies filmed in the Disney parks to vintage parks recipes. D23 Gold members will also have exclusive access to purchase a new limited edition pin set featuring artwork from Disney artist Rick De Los Angeles' cover of the D23 magazine, which will include Sleeping Beauty Castle, the Matterhorn bobsleds, Ratatouille the Adventure, Spaceship Earth, Mystic Manor, and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. This limited edition pin set will be available on August 31st. Only 3,500 sets will be made available. Gold members will also be able to watch an exclusive virtual panel celebrating the 65th anniversary with Disney Imagineering leaders Jeanette Lomboy, Kim Irvine, and Scott Trowbridge. The panel will be moderated by director and executive producer of the Imagineering story, Leslie Iwerks. This panel will be available from August 21st through August 23rd. On August 28th, D23 Gold members will be invited to a Disney Parks Trivia Night, celebrating 65 years of Disney attractions. And lastly, on August 10th, D23 members of all levels will be able to enter the D23 Magical Summer Sweepstakes for the chance to win exciting prizes like the new exclusive 6-pin set. To learn more about the celebration or to sign up for a D23 membership, head on over to d23.com.
Let's ruminate, shall we, on what those vintage Disneyland recipes are going to be.
It's just going to be, put this pickle on a stick.
It's definitely pickle on a stick. I'm sensing like boiled fish in a clear gelatin.
Meatloaf with ketchup.
A staple in any mid-century home. And like 15 of the recipes are just cocktails.
Right. But they all include, be sure you're chain smoking while you make this meal. Otherwise, it won't be authentic.
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, that's my name.
Yes, it is your name.
I passed.
You know, Patrick, we live in uncertain times.
Yes, we do.
But even in the most certain of times, a trip to Walt Disney World can be quite expensive.
That is the understatement of the century, Adam.
There's a lot of costs, right? There's park tickets, there's hotel, there's airfare, there's food.
Bikinis.
Your booze budget alone must just be like what? In the thousands of dollars.
It's astronomical. Out of modesty, I will not share that number, but it is quite high.
You're such a lady.
Thank you.
So to sum up, going to Walt Disney World, very expensive, but there are some really great ways that you can kind of budget and save money while you're visiting the parks, right?
Exactly. There are tips and tricks to save some of that cash so you can go to Disney again, as opposed to just once in a lifetime.
And we chatted with the king of the tips and tricks. That's right, Chris from Wishful Thinking. We brought him back on the podcast to have a discussion about ways that we could save money while visiting Walt Disney World.
That's absolutely correct. So back by popular demand, and Tweedledees, you did demand Chris to come back and talk to you. He has all the knowledge in the world. He puts us to shame. And so that's why we have him in our podcast, to make us look better.
And what I love about Chris is whether you're a first-time visitor to Walt Disney World or you've been 100 times, he always has some advice or some way to make that experience more affordable or better or more interesting. He's just full of wonderful Disney knowledge.
He blew my mind with one of his tips. I'll let you decide which one it was, but I am absolutely stealing this idea for next time I'm in Disney.
That is such a tease.
It is such a tease, but I thanks him for giving it to me. That's a little hint of what that of what that tip was.
Wow, Patrick. Wow. So for those of you who don't know, Chris is a full-time authorized travel agent specializing in Disney destinations, including Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disneyland Paris, Tokyo Disney Resort, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, and Aulani, a Disney resort and spa in Hawaii.
Amazing. You're going to hear this throughout the episode, but I can't say it enough. Using Chris to book your Disney travel vacation costs you no extra money. So please check out his website. Adam, where can they find Chris?
You can find Chris online at wishful-thinking.com, and you can find him on Instagram and Twitter at wishful_thinking. That's thinking with no eyes, so it's THNKNG at wishful_thinking.
Thank you so much. Without further ado, let's throw it to Chris, and he will give all of us just the tips for saving at Disney World.
Small disclaimer, we proposed that title for this segment. Disney, it was not Chris. Welcome back to Gays Do the D, Chris.
Thank you. Every time I come back, it seems like I never left. These are turning into the highlights of my summer, almost, but nearly the highlights of my summer.
I would encourage you to raise your expectations on that summer.
Well, as I've been telling you and some other people, because I'm staying in Orlando, I'm kind of living in the Disney bubble. My life right now consists of putting on my mask, either going to a Disney theme park, going to a resort hotel, going to a restaurant, or going to the grocery store and then coming home. That's pretty much my life. So it's a very surreal experience, especially now.
Well, speaking of going to Disney parks, since the last time we spoke to you was shortly after the reopening of Magic Kingdom, can you talk about your experiences briefly about how it's been going since that reopening?
Where to start, honestly? Because I formerly worked at Disney World, and because I'm such a kind of Disney fan, I'm someone who is equally selfish about kind of having my Disney nostalgic experiences, as much as I'm kind of a student who's just fascinated by trying to figure out how Disney sets up all of these systems to manage things. And so knowing how complicated and complex this was going to be, I was really curious to see how well Disney handled it. And as I mentioned the last time I was on, I have been tremendously impressed by how much Disney has taken a completely comprehensive look at things, from everything from when they decide to open the parking structures to how many lanes of security they've got open, how they've modified their bag checks, to entries for gift shops and all the various queues. They have been so comprehensive in thinking through how to avoid crowds and how to avoid pinch points. All the rules have kind of changed. Disney is not the way it formerly was, but as a travel agent, it's my job to advise clients to help them know what to expect. So I'm kind of becoming a new expert again into how things are handling and just the changes that people can expect when they come down here. And like anything, we have to accept the fact that some of these things are going to be this way for quite a while, but Disney is bending over backwards to create magic in as much as they can for guests who are coming.
So you were one of the first people to be in the parks when they reopened. What are some of the major changes that they've made to safety protocols, I guess, some learnings that they've made since that first reopening date?
Yeah, so the Orlando Sentinel actually ran a story last week about how cast members have been continually asked to provide feedback about things just to help them feel more safe. And to be honest, if we're really considering the risk of the current situation, it's cast members, I think, that are potentially the most at risk. They're interacting with the public. And the president of one of the unions that Disney works with talked about how Disney has really been amazing in listening to that feedback and responding. So I've noticed everything from, for example, on some of those first opening days, there were larger queues that were forming in front of guest relations, and Disney had not placed the kind of social distance spacers on the sidewalk there. But as soon as they noticed that that was going to be necessary, overnight, magically, those spaces were placed. Because Disney has mandated masks for everyone, they've put in new cast members who are welcoming guests at the park. They're wearing yellow outfits and they've got really colorful masks on, and they've got a cute kind of explainer on how to tell folks how to wear their mask. When the parks first opened, we only pretty much saw them kind of right at the entry points. They've seemed to have expanded those number of cast members because you're seeing them all over the place. Similarly, when the park first opened, they allowed you to remove your mask if you were kind of walking and snacking or drinking. And they have since modified that. They've now said that you need to be seated and stationary if you're enjoying a drink or a snack. Especially during the food festival that's happening at Epcot, they've provided a lot more places for people to sit and take off their mask and enjoy their food. Distance separated, most of which is outside. And they've also put signs and a whole bunch of more cast members in Epcot reminding people about what those new procedures are. So they really seem to be kind of observing and keeping their nose to the ground about how to remind things. Not only that, there's multiple cast members that will remind folks to put their mask back on. I've seen everyone from gift shop hosts to custodians asking guests to make sure that they wear their mask over their nose.
Yeah, I'm sure they're just putting in a ton of time and resources into learning, right? I mean, this is an unprecedented situation that we're in. And, you know, just as we as civilians are learning and the CDC is learning, you know, Disney also has to learn the best way to kind of approach mitigating the risks of this virus.
Absolutely. And it's something that many people are really paying a lot of attention to. Obviously, when Disney opened, they happened to reopen right at the same time that Florida was experiencing a spike in infections. Much of Florida had opened their restaurants and other public spaces about a month before. So it was almost predictable that about a month after things reopened, there'd be this spike. But because Disney was conservative on their opening date, that timing did not play well in terms of PR. But since then, a number of reporters, including Natasha Chen at CNN, have specifically looked into data to see whether there was any spike in infections that could be traced to or timed to Disney's reopening. And she got someone from the Department of Health who had said that they had not observed any kind of spike that was correlated to Disney's reopening. I do think that what Disney is doing, as much as we might not like this is going to become normal and is going to become de rigueur around the country. As much as it's a hard thing to kind of accept, I think this is what we're looking at least through the end of the year.
Yeah, from my vantage point, it seems as though Disney is approaching safety from keeping their cast members safe first, which, I mean, of course, they're keeping everyone's safety in mind, but it looks like they're approaching it from the vantage point of a cast member because they have to be there out of necessity versus everyone who's attending the parks is there voluntarily. And so I feel like that's the right way to approach this, to keep all of those necessity people safe first.
Absolutely. And I think if there's no one to work at these parks, obviously no one can attend these parks. But beyond that, it's hard for us to know from the outside, but Disney is certainly very aware that the entire budget and economy of Florida as a state somewhat hinges on whether or not Disney is open and functioning. And this is why I think Disney World is certainly in a different place than Disneyland. Southern California and California can get along just fine, whether Disneyland is open or not. But Disney World, with its 43 square miles and millions of annual visitors, they know that they play a central role in just people considering traveling right now to Florida.
Well, Chris, before we get into your top 10 ways to budget and save money on a Disney World trip, which I know everyone is really interested in, even if we traveled to Disney World a ton of times, there's still tricks we can pick up through this list. It's really fantastic. You came across a post on the New York Times about something called exposure budget. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I love there's a Well blog is what it's called. And she also has a daily feature that shows up on my Alexa every morning. Her name is Tara Parker Pope. And she talked a short time ago about thinking about the new risks of living with coronavirus in terms of an exposure budget. It's not unlike the way that we might think of safer sex, especially as gay men, that we know that there are certain activities that are going to be a little bit higher risk and there are other activities that are going to be lower risk. And so going to, an outdoor activity, being outside, would be considered a lower risk activity. Going to a party or a wedding or something where you're going to be indoors would be considered a higher risk activity. So she thinks about thinking in terms of like a budget of activities per month and trying to budget how you spend those days. So if you know that you're going to be participating in something that has a little bit higher risk, then that's your budget for the month. And so when I think about travel, there are many people that are traveling. People are showing up at Disney World. But I think a lot of people are trying to be responsible about it. So they're thinking about, in the periods before they travel and after they travel, about really reducing their exposure. So some folks are quarantining, they're staying home, or they're really limiting their contacts with other folks. I've certainly seen people that are taking a COVID test, especially if they're taking a vacation with other families or with members who live outside of their household, doing that test before and then doing a test again after, just to kind of be well informed about how things are going. And then also while you're traveling, just keeping in mind which activities might be higher risk. We do know that masks, thank God, we've got good science that's showing us that masks not only help protect other people, but they do help protect us. And because masks are mandatory at Disney, you can turn that into part of your fashion. People are creating all sorts of amazing Disney designs on their masks, and people are having fun with it. But before we travel, I do think it's smart to think through those things and think about how to minimize our risk.
That's really interesting. It's almost like a sliding scale, right? Like it's not full quarantining. You certainly can do that if you want, but to really kind of pull back when you know you're about to go somewhere or if you're returning from somewhere, really to kind of not only protect yourself, but also protect those around you.
Absolutely. It's the lesson that 2020 is teaching us, that we need to learn how to care about people who aren't like us. And I think that especially in a thing like Disney, where you have the chance to really see and interact with the public, it can be kind of an incredible we're all in this together experience, but it has a new set of guidelines.
Yeah, I think of it as sort of thinking 10 steps before you do something and then thinking 10 steps after you do something. That's making sure you have that buffer of knowledge and protection before you go into a potentially higher risk situation.
All right, well, let's head on into your list of tips. This is a really great list you put together for us, and it kind of falls into different categories, right?
I try to. I think when we think about how to save money at Disney, many people only think of the kind of big ticket item, literally their tickets. And that's the first thing that's staring them in their face. But there's a lot of ways to save money, especially if you think through all the extra little costs that are woven into travel.
That's true. There's so many ways to save money anywhere you go, but specifically in Walt Disney World, which is what we're talking about today. I'm super excited to hear your tips. So let's move in to the first category, which is change when you travel. Talk to us about that.
So many people are limited in when they can travel. If they've only got a certain time that they're able to get vacation days, if they're hoping to travel with kids and the kids need to be out of school. But because of those limitations that are pretty common, there are peak seasons and there are slow seasons. In a typical year, and this is still somewhat applying, in a typical year, peak seasons are going to be during summer vacation periods, spring break, and right around Thanksgiving, and then anytime around Christmas into New Year's. And so Disney has to publish their hotel rates. It's something that's required by law. And if you were to look at the rack rates that Disney publishes of their hotel rates per night, there's a significant difference from high season to low season. So if you're someone who can travel during those slower periods, A, you're going to get a cheaper hotel almost always. And B, you'll probably find other services be cheaper, like your flights or your cars as well. Although it's amazing to be at Disney during Christmas, and I do recommend it if it's something you've never done. If you can get down to Disney during other times of year, you're probably going to save a lot of money.
So if you were to tell us right now, just off the top of your head, what do you think is the best time to go on a budget?
If you're cool with traveling now, there are some incredible rates. I feel like Stefan from Saturday Night Live. Now is the time to go to Disney World. They've got everything. But I've been looking and helping some clients, especially airfare right now is crazy cheap. You can fly for $70 round trip from Chicago. I saw fares that were $85 from Minneapolis, especially for these fall months. Airfares into Orlando right now are super cheap. Disney is also offering quite a few promotions during this fall period, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But typically, let's say you're thinking for next year, typically the most affordable time to travel is going to be the first parts of January, the first parts of May, and the first few weeks of September. Historically, those are the times to get the best rates.
Why do we have you on the podcast? Because every time I'm solidified in my belief that now is not the time to visit Disney. I should just hold back. And suddenly you come on here, Chris, with your deals and your promotions. And now suddenly I'm like, now is a good time to go.
Well, and honestly, this is my next bit of advice. Use a travel agent to get you discounts, because we are people who are spending our days in the weeds doing those searches. And so we notice patterns. And so if you contact an agent like me, who's authorized to work with Disney, it costs you just the same as it does to book a vacation on your own. But you get the knowledge that I'm bringing to it of all these little kind of secret windows of when to find things. And that is what I will tell you. The rates dramatically change. There's a few other specifics I want to give you about just kind of what I'm seeing for clients that are looking this fall. If you are an annual pass holder, Disney's offering specific discounts through September 30th. They've got 30% off value resorts, 35% off moderate resorts, and 40% off deluxe resorts. I've also been looking for clients over at the Disney Springs hotels, which I know we've talked about before, but those are a series of hotels that are not owned and managed by Disney, but they come with almost all of the perks of staying in a Disney managed hotel. Right now, this fall, I'm seeing rates for like $60 a night, $80 a night. And those are in nice hotels. Those are in, their Holiday Inn. The B Resort and Spa is a lovely hotel. They've got good pools. They've got on-site breakfasts. You can walk or take a quick Uber over to Disney Springs and enjoy all the fantastic shops and restaurants there. So there's a lot of good deals happening, especially through the end of this year.
That took us right into the next category, change where you stay. So all of those incredible deals. I can't believe like $65 for a Disney Springs hotel.
Yeah. Who knows how long that's going to last, but that's what they're offering now.
So that's on property. Let's talk about off property then.
Yeah, that's another way that I often recommend that people can save money. If budget is really on your mind, one of the easiest ways to save money is just to not stay in a Disney resort hotel. No, I will get into some of the specifics of the pros and cons of staying on property versus off property, but it's helpful to know that during this particular period, many of the perks that were exclusively available to those who are staying on property no longer apply. One of the biggest perks that was available for Disney resort guests is the chance to book their fast passes earlier than everyone else. But right now, there are no fast passes. And so that difference has been erased. So I'll get into just a few specifics. Disney has a number of hotels located off property that are considered good neighbor hotels. These are hotels that Disney has vetted. They've decided that the quality and the value and the services that are available are something that meets their standards. They also do offer services like they can help with your tickets and things also while they're there. One of those resorts is called the Margaritaville Resort. You guys mentioned that just a few weeks ago because they had been scheduled to host the rescheduled Gay Days event, which has unfortunately been canceled. But I have toured Margaritaville. I've been in and around their hotel. I got to do a site tour and see their villas. It's a terrific resort. It's brand new. It's got multiple pools. It's got all the services you'd need. They have fantastic villas there that are standalone cottages. You can get a 2-bedroom condo for about $275 per night. And if you were to book one of those villas over in a Disney hotel, if you wanted one of the Disney condos, those villas often go for over $1,000 a night. You can get a 2-bedroom villa at the new Riviera Resort. That's over $1,400 per night. So you're saving more than $1,000 every day simply by staying in a resort that is literally across the street from Walt Disney property.
And just as another plug to all of our Tweedledee family members out there, you do know that it is a gay-friendly hotel as well, because they are oftentimes the host, as you said, Chris, of Gay Days Orlando.
Absolutely. And the same is said of many of the hotels over at the Disney Springs. B Resort and Spa, super gay friendly. I stayed there with a boyfriend 2 years ago. They were so cool with us. And you're seeing queer people in and around these hotels anyway. I mean, Orlando itself is a pretty gay friendly place. But these resorts are terrific resorts. The only thing is that you're not going to get to take advantage of Walt Disney's transportation. And so that is one thing that I'll get into next. But the cool thing about these various hotels, and there's a number of them, you can often get a standard room for $100, $125 a night at these hotels. Many of them have breakfast included with that. And many of them do partner specifically with Disney as part of a vacation package. So you can build it into all the other savings that Disney offers.
Well, let's move into your number 4 tip, Chris, which is saving on transportation.
Yeah. Many people fly to Orlando and then they rent a car. And so they've never really kind of thought through various ways to save money around that. But you don't have to rent a car, especially now in the era of ride shares. Let's just kind of get into some of the numbers of how some of these things break down. If you're staying in a resort hotel at Disney, you're spending from $15 to $25 a night to park there. If you're not staying at a resort hotel and you're driving to the theme parks, you're spending $22 every day to park at the theme parks. If you're renting a car, you're looking at $40, $50 a night plus gas. So that comes out to like $75 a day just to kind of have a car and park. But you can usually get a ride share in and around the Walt Disney World area for like $10, $15. So if you're taking 2 Ubers a day, you're definitely saving money versus renting a car. Beyond that, there's actually a form of transportation that hardly anyone talks about. But as a New Yorker, I'm used to riding on public transportation. So when I came to Orlando last year, I was staying in a condo area that was located right along the Orlando Lynx bus system. Orlando has a terrific public bus. If you believe in saving the environment, then you know that public transportation is the way to go. Their public buses are clean. They have a fantastic app that you can look and literally see when the bus is coming, so you're not standing there waiting. They have free Wi-Fi on the buses, and right now, the buses are completely free. They've got social distancing measures in place. Everyone's required to wear masks. And those buses have two major routes that go all around Walt Disney World. They'll even take you out to Universal or SeaWorld. You know, it might take you a little bit extra time depending on where you're staying. But I found with where I was staying last year, I could walk out my door and be at the Magic Kingdom in 20 minutes on that bus. So I highly recommend that. I've actually just posted a link to that on my Twitter. So if people want to find out the Disney bus options, it's called Lynx, LYNX.
And do the Lynx buses run 24 hours a day?
They do not, as I learned last year, but they do run really late. The one that serves the Magic Kingdom, their last bus is at midnight. And I think last year there was one of those extra Magic Hours nights that I just stuck around and took a bunch of pictures and found out the hard way that I missed the last bus. So that was an Uber night for me, but they start running very early and they go right late.
Moving on, Chris, you want us to think about changing how we eat. Now, I take offense to this, and you're going to have some convincing to do. But your first tip is to economize our restaurants in Walt Disney World.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that they often spend more money on their food than they do on their theme park tickets. So if you are someone who enjoys a good restaurant, I support that, and there are many great places to eat at Disney World. But if you've eaten at Disney, you know that their portions are gigantic, and Disney encourages you to share. So as long as you have no shame about splitting that sandwich and putting it on an extra plate, or so many of these entrees come with sides. The sides themselves are practically a meal. So I strongly encourage people to order, especially some of those quick service restaurants. Well, they'll have one entree, almost always comes with sides. You can easily split that up. Also, the buffets, which are currently paused for the coronavirus reopening, but when they do reopen, buffets are pretty expensive. Now, they are all you care to enjoy, but a lot of times you can save money by just ordering smaller portions or ordering off of regular menus at other restaurants. Not only that, another big tip I give is to consider the children's menus. At every restaurant, there are kids options where they're half the price usually, and they give you would many consider a normal size portion. Disney doesn't prevent adults from ordering kids meals, and I've done it many times. And they're great. It's the same food. It's just a smaller portion for less money.
Absolutely. I almost always order the kids' portion if it's available on a quick service menu specifically, because oftentimes they're not that much smaller than the regular portion. It's just a kid's price instead.
Yeah, and sometimes they give you little packs of grapes or apples that you can stick in your bag and you can have a snack later in the day.
Yeah, strangely, they're sometimes healthier than the adult menu item.
Absolutely. And that's another thing to remember as well. Many people don't know, but if you do want to order just the sandwich or just the entree or just that side, even if it's not listed on the menu that you see at the restaurant, you can often check that out. Beyond that, Disney right now has expanded their mobile ordering. So all the quick service restaurants right now are enabled with mobile ordering. So it's very easy to go in that app. You can choose those sides, choose those kids portions, whatever you want. You order that, you pay through your app. And then when you get to the quick service location, once your food is ready, you simply step inside, pick up your food, and then you can have a seat. And they've also expanded lots of outdoor seating. So it's even kind of easier to get that breeze and, have that social distance while you enjoy your food.
I love it. Well, let's move on to your next tip number 6, which is one that I highly, highly advocate for, which is pack snacks and lunches.
I don't know how she did it, but my mother managed to pack entire lunches and get them into the Magic Kingdom. It has since then become even easier. Disney does not permit you to bring in ice, but you can bring in soft coolers and things like that. And all of the theme parks have locker storage right at the entry. So if you do want to actually just pack a whole soft cooler full of food, you can stick that in the locker. You don't have to lug it around with you all day. But I always bring in snacks. But I have to, this is a little hilarious, but it's something I've long wanted to do. Have you ever gotten one of those turkey legs at the theme parks?
Neither of us have, actually.
But do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes.
They are gigantic. And the last time I got one, I couldn't begin to finish it myself. And my favorite part about Thanksgiving are the day after turkey sandwiches. And I was like, I'm going to find a way to make this into a delicious turkey sandwich. So last week, and I'm going to put this on my Instagram so that all your Tweedledees can see it. Last week, I brought into the park with me merely 2 slices of bread. That's what I brought into the park with me. I got myself a turkey leg. The various condiment stations include so much free stuff that for free condiments, I got ranch dressing, hot sauce, lettuce, and tomatoes for free. And then I did go into Pico's Bill and I ordered a $2 cup of guacamole. And I've got to tell you, that makes for a darn good turkey sandwich. I will post that tutorial. If anyone ever makes it, I hope they'll tag me so I can see it. But there is enough turkey on that leg to easily make 4 sandwiches. It was far more than I could eat in my one sitting.
Tweedledees, if you take nothing else away from this segment, the number 1 tip is bring bread to the parks.
Chris, you are the diners, dives, and drive-ins of Disney World.
It's a secret menu. I'm creating a secret menu. What you might not know, though, is that if you are staying in a Disney Resort hotel, all of those gift shops sell stuff to make your own lunches. They've got bread. They've got peanut butter and jelly, sandwich meats, Actually, I think I can categorically say every resort hotel within their gift shop, they've got foods that you can bring in as snacks. So you can buy fruit, you can buy granola bars. Even the sweet shops now sell kind of granola mixes and things like that. They do also sell liquor bottles there. Just as a side note, you don't have to go to the bar. You can buy a bottle of liquor in the gift shop.
Oh, I'm very aware of that, Chris.
And this is why I will say it's always a good idea to bring with you a bottle of water. If you bring in a refillable bottle, you can save money on drinks. They've now got water fountain stations throughout the park that you can refill throughout the day.
I just have this visual now of Patrick rolling up to a quick service, ordering a kid's menu, and just like taking pulls of like a tiny bottle of vodka while he's doing it.
You don't have to imagine it. There are probably pictures of me doing that at some point.
All right, Chris. Well, moving on, you have changed up your theme park plan by reducing your number of days in the parks.
I do think that's something that folks should consider, especially in the months to come. Disney has severely reduced the number of guests who can enter the parks. They've also severely reduced the hours that the parks are open. But because the capacity is so low, it is extremely easy to get on every ride or attraction that you want to get on. I tested this out last week just to see. I got into the Magic Kingdom at opening. I had no specific plan. I was just kind of letting my whims guide my feet. And I rode every single ride and got on every attraction, every show before the park had closed. That included the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse and Tom Sawyer Island, which, you know, the things I typically skip. But I wanted just to get down that list and make sure you could do it all. So because it's now so easy to see what you want to see, Disney has announced that they will be reintroducing the park hopper option soon. And it is cheaper to do a 2 or 3 day ticket and add on the park hopper than to do a 4th day. So especially if you're someone who doesn't need to go on every single attraction, and maybe you also just want to save your hotel costs. You know, a 2-night stay with a 2-day ticket is a lot cheaper than a 5-night stay with a 5-day ticket. So especially if you're planning on maybe doing other things in and around Florida, reducing the number of actual days in the parks is not going to hurt you, especially if you've got little kids. A lot of kids are only going to remember like 4 or 5 things. They're not going to remember whether they spent 5 days in the theme park or 2 days. Like, do you remember from your childhood vacations how many actual days you went into the parks? I don't.
Well, I don't remember either, but that's because I'm drinking a lot of vodka along the way.
As a child, you were drinking a lot of vodka?
I started very early, Adam. I started very early. Yeah. No, that's a great tip, Chris. But I have to back up. I have a very specific question for you about the Swiss Family Treehouse. How are they operating that using socially distant measures?
No one goes on. No one is in that tree. Like,
it's because it's only one person a day.
There's like one person going up in that tree.
It regulates itself. Got it.
It does.
Well, Chris, number 8 in your list of tips is to swap out water park days for theme park days.
Now, you guys did confess several months ago that you had not been to the Disney theme parks. I still am agog because they are so much fun. But beyond that, for now, the Disney water parks have not yet reopened, and we're not sure when they're going to. But they are very economical. A one-day ticket to these water parks is considerably cheaper than the theme parks, and you can often add an extra day or upgrade to what's considered an annual pass for the Disney water parks for very, very little money. So especially if you've got kids, a lot of those kids, the thought of spending the day swimming in the pools, especially if it's wintertime back where they're from, and now they get to be in like the pools of Florida in the middle of February, those water park days for kids, they love them. And I love them too. I have a lot of fun when I go to the water parks. So within Disney World, there are two water parks, Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, which are not yet reopened, but there's 3 other great water parks in Orlando. Universal Studios has Volcano Bay, SeaWorld has Aquatica, and Margaritaville, which we previously mentioned, they have their own kind of smallish water park right next door called H2O Live. But those tickets are pretty cheap per day, and it's just a fun way to get out and just enjoy some of the fun of being in Florida, especially if you're coming during cold weather month.
It's definitely on my list. I do have envy of those who are going to the water parks because they do look absolutely beautiful. So that's a great tip. But your next suggestion, Chris, is blasphemous on this show, but I will allow it because we like you. It is to visit non-Disney Orlando attractions. Explain yourself, Chris.
Well, one thing that Disney is incredibly kind is that even though we're authorized with Disney allows us to get authorizations to sell and to work with their competitors. So I can also put together packages and tickets for Universal and for SeaWorld. And I've been to both of those in recent weeks and in previous years. Honestly, I mean, I'm a Disney fan through and through, but there's a lot of fun to be had in those parks. Right now, if you're a Florida resident, Universal has an insane deal. You can buy one ticket for it's a 2-park ticket for $164. That's getting into both of their 2 theme parks. If you buy that ticket through September 30th, they're letting you come back to Universal as much as you want through December 24th. They're basically selling a rest of the year annual pass for $164. If you add on another $29, you can have unlimited entry to their water park. Now that's just for Florida residents, but they've got a lot of other promotions at Universal right now. SeaWorld is offering its own discounts. If you buy one ticket, you get another one for 50% off. And if you're a coaster fan, many people, if you've never been to SeaWorld, you wouldn't know this, but the best coasters in Florida are at SeaWorld. Well, SeaWorld and also Busch Gardens over at Tampa. But there's some really terrific roller coasters at SeaWorld. And they've definitely changed things up since a documentary put them into pretty negative light a few years ago. They've changed a lot of their procedures there as well. But you can have a lot of fun there. And they're doing all the same social distancing and masks and cleanliness that Disney's doing.
Well, Chris, you're taking us next into the great outdoors. You want us to enjoy outdoor activities.
And this is where, especially if you come from a family like mine, sometimes just simply being together with the people that you love is the stuff that you really remember. I will never forget. There was one year that we were planning a trip to Disney, and then my parents kind of sprung it on us that they were going to take us to Yellowstone instead. And I complained so terribly. I was like, Yellowstone? Like, what's a Yellowstone? But what that vacation ended up being was tons of outdoor activities. We went whitewater rafting for the first time. We went canoeing. We went hiking. We did all of these things together as a family. To this day, we still have inside jokes that we make reference to. And I'm not going to lie, I remember more specific moments from that vacation than from probably 5 different Disney vacations because I was with people that I really love. So many people don't know this, but Disney has a lot of those outdoor activities. They've got golf and foot golf, which is super fun. They've got miniature golf right now, and all these things are currently open. They've got an archery experience over at Fort Wilderness, somewhat themed after Brave and then the archery that Merida enjoys. You can go horseback riding. They've got trail adventures and what's called the Wilderness Back Trail near the Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground. You can go fishing, and if you've been following the NBA players down in Orlando, so many of them have been going fishing. Rumor has it that they've stocked the lakes with extra fish just to kind of pad the egos of those NBA players. They're getting some really good catches right now. But many people also don't realize that the beaches are only about an hour away. If you've got a car or you just want to, even you can rent a car for the day, you can drive out to Daytona Beach or Cocoa Beach. You can make that, a pre-trip or post-trip part of your trip as well, where you can stay out there and enjoy some ocean. When I was a kid coming from the Midwest, I loved and look forward to every year to just seeing the ocean, building sandcastles, things like that. I loved stuff like that. So that's a great way to enjoy a really, really good time with the people that you love and not spend a lot of money.
I would encourage our Tweedles to really, when you go to a Disney resort, to look at the offerings there, look at the amenities, look at the special activities that they have, because a lot of them could be no charge or could come at a very inexpensive activity for you and your family. And you're still getting that kind of Disney level of service, that quality experience. So really check out what your resort has to offer while you're in Walt Disney World.
Absolutely. They have complimentary movies every night under the stars, which we talked about previously. Pop Century often has a chance to make your own tie-dyed t-shirts. They do other kind of craft activities. Many of them offer yoga classes for free. You can take yoga sometimes by sunrise along the waterfront in some of the resorts. Some of them do wine tastings. Some of them offer tours of the resort itself. You can do tours, for example, at the Wilderness Lodge. Oh my God, the tour at the Animal Kingdom Lodge is incredible. They have so many fascinating pieces of African art. And that stuff is all free for anyone that's staying at those resorts. Also, Animal Kingdom Lodge, they do some wilderness stuff with folks that can explain the animals that are on the savannah. All of that is included. You can even get nighttime binoculars to view the animals out on the savannah late at night. So there's so many things like that.
Such a great suggestion. All I heard was wine tasting, but I will definitely be looking into that. Well, that takes us through all 10 of your top tips for budgeting, but you do have some bonus thoughts for us in the way of work the budget. That's WERK, the budget. Cancel or reschedule. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I think many people don't realize that Disney has always made it very easy for families and individuals to plan a trip and to work with a realistic budget. So anytime you book a Walt Disney vacation package, they only ask $200 for a deposit. And that deposit is completely refundable. Your balance due typically was only 30 days before you travel, but during this period, throughout the rest of the year into next year, your balance isn't due until 7 days before you arrive. And you can cancel up to that point and get that money back. But Disney allows you to make payments in as much as you like, whenever you like. And that's something that when you go through a travel agent like me, that I can set up for you and just make it really easy. Beyond that, Disney's very aware that people are kind of keeping an eye on the headlines and keeping an eye on things, considering their own families. That many of us are in work situations that might feel a little unstable. Some of us are out of work or we're looking for work. And so Disney's made it very easy for you to modify your vacations. You can easily move to another period if your dates won't work. And sometimes if they offer a promotional rate that now applies when you were planning to travel, but that offer wasn't around when you first booked it, through an agent and through Disney, you can retroactively apply that. So they're very kind in terms of working with folks.
Well, Chris, this has been a fantastic segment. We always love having you on the podcast. You are full of such useful information, not only for people that are going to be going to Walt Disney World or any Disney park for their very first time, but also for haggard travelers like Patrick and myself.
Honestly, I enjoy this work so much. I'm a planner by nature and I love to help plan for folks. But when someone does work with me, I can do as much or as little of the planning as they might like. So there are some people that are Disney experts. They know exactly what they want, but they're just happy to kind of let me do some of that somewhat more annoying legwork. I'm the one that can wait on hold for you for 3 hours when we need to change something. But I love working with individuals. So many people take individual Disney vacations. A lot of folks don't know that, but it's a great place as a solo traveler. And especially if you're in one of those places where you just need a dose of some optimism right now. Man, being alone in the parks these last few weeks has been good for me. But I highly recommend that. And then if folks do want to, get away with people, maybe you haven't seen your loved ones in a long time, taking those precautions and doing a Disney trip can be really rejuvenating. I'm very aware that a lot of this country still hasn't returned to normal. I'm from New York and I have a lot of friends that work in theater, and I'm very conscious of the fact that it might be quite some time before normality returns there. Disney is certainly different, but there's so much good that's happening here. And I do encourage people, if they feel ready to travel, I do encourage people to make some plans or just now start thinking ahead. It's going to be the big 50th anniversary next year. So there's a lot that's in the pipeline coming next year.
Absolutely. We should emphasize that we are in no way advocating that you have to or should go right now to the parks, but these budget saving tips will be available to you when you are ready to go back into the parks. And we should also emphasize, you said it earlier, Chris, but I think it bears repeating. If you do want to contact Chris and use Wishful Thinking, it comes at no extra cost to you. You're simply paying the park admission and the travel fees, but Chris is not charging you an additional fee, which is amazing, Chris. You're doing the Lord's work, Chris.
Thanks. honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little vicarious. I really enjoy when I have clients that are in the parks. I definitely get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Chris, will you please remind our Tweedles where they can find you online and on social media?
I have the most annoying Instagram handle because the one I wanted wasn't available. So it's Wishful Thinking, but it's wishful _ and then thinking with no eyes, THNKNG. That is also the Twitter handle. And then if you find me on the web, it's wishful-thinking.com.
Tweedledees, you have a mission out there. Find whoever has that Instagram handle, and we will pay them to give it up for Chris.
It's been dead. Just the normal wishful thinking has been dead. No one's used it for like forever.
All right. We can figure this out for you. We have a mission. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Patrick.
You know, there's been a lot of changes here at Gaze with a D, or we're slowly making some changes now that we're over 100 years old. But one thing we are not changing is Quick D.
Are we over 100 years old?
We are over 100 years old. We have one episode per year. That's what it feels like in quarantine times.
Time flies.
Time flies when you're doing nothing at all.
Some of the small changes I'd like to make are just around my eyes, just like a subtle lift.
For me, that would be an extravagant change. There are not enough doctors in the world to correct this puss. I mean that in the old-fashioned way of my face, just for all you Tweedledees out there who are like, what? What?
I was going to say, I think there are some specialty doctors that could work on your puss.
All right. See, 100 years old. I'm using old English.
But you're right. Quick D is not changing. Quick D will always be around. We're going to drive Quick D right into the grave.
That's right. We're not touching that D. I mean, we're touching some Ds, but not that D.
No, that D is too beautiful, too perfect to touch.
It's a monument that must not be touched, just polished.
Every so often, and not with like a polish, but just a dry rag.
Oh boy. Speaking of dry rags, Adam, I have a question for you. But before we get into that question, let's remind our Tweedledees what Quick D is. It is when Adam and I ask each other a question we have not been privy to prior to recording. Go with it. Keep it in. And we answer off the cuff with very little editing. So this is when you get to hear us sound absolutely stupid.
Recording?
I don't have time to say full words anymore, Adam. I'm very busy.
Who does? Yes, you are very busy.
So busy, in fact, let's get to it, Adam. I have a question for you.
Throw it my way.
Here comes the D. So, Adam, as you may or may not know, the Disney Parks Mom Panel has officially been changed to Plan Disney. Adam, I have signed you up to be a Plan Disney spokesperson, and I have a question for you.
As a Plan Disney spokesperson, I'm happy to answer it.
Fantastic, but I will still call you Mother Adam. In homage to the Disney Parks Moms Panel. So, Mother Adam, as you know, we just talked to Chris at length on ways to save money while traveling to Walt Disney World, but I'm certain there are some off-the-beaten-path ways to budget your trip. Please give us those unique ideas we may or may not have thought about to save money.
I'm so happy you asked this, Patrick, because yes, while Chris provided us with some excellent information, some fantastic tips, a lot of them were absolute trash. And so here's my list. Here's my ways that you can really save money when visiting Walt Disney World, Disneyland, really any Disney park. The first tip I'm going to give you, Patrick, and this is a huge savings, particularly if you are a fan of Disney dining. And Patrick, who among us isn't a foodie when it comes to Disney World?
I can't name a person, Adam. I can't name one person.
Well, my tip for all of our Tweedles out there is to skip the restaurant and head straight to that dumpster.
I love it.
Little known fact, a lot of the Disney World restaurants have dumpsters behind them, and you can go dumpster diving. It's the same food, Patrick. It's barely been touched, and it's just as tasty.
I mean, I think this is the greatest tip of all. Become one with the trash pandas, a.k.a. the raccoons, and dive into that dumpster.
Live your Miko fantasy.
So sensible.
My next tip is jean shorts.
Okay. All right. How is wearing a jean short saving you any money?
Well, you're just bringing one pair. And what you're going to do is, I know this may seem obscure, but just go with me on it. You're going to use the friction generated by your thighs rubbing together in your jean shorts to actually recharge your phone throughout the day.
I love that. That's just gay science, Adam. It's just gay science.
That is gay science. Thank you. My next tip relates to souvenirs, Patrick. And who among us doesn't love a souvenir from Walt Disney World, Patrick?
Oh, I'm nervous you're going to tell us to steal, Adam. I'm nervous you're going to tell us to mop a store.
Well, you're half right. I'm going to tell you to steal, but I'm going to tell you to steal a child. And why do you steal a child? You steal a child to take into a store with you and say, my child, you're pretending it's your kid, just threw away or just lost this such and such item that you really want. And then you demand that the store replace it.
This is such a specific point, Adam, that I'm afraid that you've already done this.
Patrick, with your height, come on, why do you think I travel with you?
It's true. I'm also a trained actor, so I can cry on demand.
And yet you've never questioned why I put you in a sailor suit every time we go to the parks.
I never question a sailor suit, Adam.
Always a good choice.
I get so many dates.
Because they think you're a seaman?
Well, they know that seamen will be involved.
Moving on, my last tip, Patrick. And this may be the greatest tip of all, or the least useful. I haven't quite decided yet.
To be clear, none of these are useful, Adam.
Disagree? My last tip is to avoid Disney resorts altogether, to avoid off-property good neighbor hotels, just avoid hotels altogether, save on that expense, and sleep in the now stalled Tomorrowland People Mover.
Adam, you've really outdone yourself. This is an excellent tip.
Thank you so much. I hope that people really embrace these and put them to good use while they're in the parks, because will they save you money? Yes. Will they get you arrested? Maybe.
I think there's a high likelihood that you will be arrested, but these are excellent tips, Adam. We've got dumpster diving, we've got kidnapping, we've got squatting, and we've got jean shorts.
Jean short friction. Yeah, thank you.
I think jean shorts alone will get you arrested.
All right, Patrick, here is my question for you. In fact, it is not my question. It was submitted by one Matthew England, my boyfriend. That's right. He made this suggestion for this week's Quick D.
I am equally nervous and excited.
Patrick, you have 2 slices of bread. No, just kidding. It's not about bread. Patrick, Matthew knows how much both you and I love Drag Race. And so Matthew said, if you, Patrick, were to be on Drag Race, but it was Disney's Drag Race, and the Maxi Challenge was Snatch Game, and you had to appear as a Disney character, which Disney character would you embody for Snatch Game? And can you please give us an impression of that character now?
Well, I owe Matthew one slap across the face for this question. You know how I hate doing impressions. All right, yes. Here we go. Well, as you know, Adam, Eartha Kitt has been done 76 times on the Snatch Game. So why not go with 77 times and do Yzma from Emperor's New Groove, which is basically just Eartha Kitt once again.
It is. And I got to say, you've got some balls on you, Patrick Kozicki, because you are doing Eartha Kitt, doing Yzma after Jujubee did Eartha Kitt on the most recent season of All Stars.
Thank you so much for bringing my balls into this episode. I know that you can see them on Zoom right now, so I appreciate the shout out.
Might I recommend some jean shorts just to cover them?
That won't help.
All right, so Yzma. Let's hear your Yzma for Snatch Game.
Okay, well, I need a question.
Oh, okay. All right, Patrick. The Snatch Game question is, Polly Pocket loves peanut butter so much that she puts her peanut butter in her blank.
Meow, 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 peanut butter, meow. How is it? Is that good? Do you like it? I'm so good at impressions.
I don't think you're going to win Snatch Game, Patrick.
What do you mean? That was spot on.
You've fully embraced Catwoman.
Adam, if you expected anything better than the lowest common denominator of a joke for me, you are sorely mistaken. Meow, 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 meow.
Make it stop, please. Make it stop. That will do it for this episode of Gays Do the D. Thanks for listening. To become a patron of the podcast, visit our website at gaysdothed.com/donate. For a donation of any amount, you can receive exclusive Gays Do the D content and help us continue to bring you the very best Disney news and discussion. Continue the conversation after this episode on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GDTD Podcast, and submit your questions or show ideas to info@gaysdothed.com. Have a great week, everybody. See you real soon.